What's going on, everybody? Today we are here with a special guest, A.B.B, a.k.a. Astralboobaby. I have been waiting on this interview for quite some time, and I am so excited to bring this to you today. Stay with us, and we will be right back with A.B.B. Much love and peace to all watching and or listening to Candid Stories of My Soul podcast with myself as the host, Racquel Shelby. From the moment we take our first breath and every experience that follows builds us up and creates the individuals we are today. In life, we will experience both the good and the bad because in order for balance to exist, both must coexist. There cannot be good without bad, nor can there be chaos without peace. We are souls experiencing humanity. The Creator is the author of it all. Whether we believe in a God source or not, He is within us all and is present at all times, embedded in us like our DNA. You will get to audibly witness many journeys of individuals as they are living, breathing, and ever-growing documentaries in the flesh. Many will attest to how the Creator was there, and many of these accounts will be mind-blowing. Please share with your family and friends and enjoy the message we have for you today. And we're back. All right. So, Mr. Astralboobaby, thank you again for coming on this platform. I really appreciate you.
All right. Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you for the invite. I really appreciate it. Hello to everyone out there.
Yes. So, let's take it on back. Let's go to how you got this started, and then I want to go down to childhood and how you discovered, because this is a spiritual podcast, so we're going to talk about how you discovered that you were one of us unique. Not that we aren't all unique, because we are, but everybody is now operating in their divine gifts, right? So we want to talk about that. So, tell us about your website and everything you got going on.
Okay. All right. Wow, where do I begin? All right. For starters, let's just talk about briefly being a child. As a child, I was very much into the creative arts and using my imagination. And without realizing it, I was tapping into knowing things, foreseeing things, foretelling things that I, at the time, didn't know was anything special. I just did it. Just being a kid, I knew I was different. I was doing things and interested in things that was not typical for one who's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old and up. But I always embraced that part of myself, although I didn't find a lot of things that my peers were doing that relatable, and they definitely didn't see me relatable. So I was literally forcing and foretelling things and just new things. And my mother and my aunts, they really were afraid of me at times, except a couple of times when I gave my mother winning lottery numbers that came out exactly the way I had given her. And again, at the time, I didn't think anything of it in terms of me being a seer or psychic or anything like that. But as I got older, I realized that this was something really serious because I started having spontaneous out-of-body experiences, astral projecting. Now, mind you, I am a musician. I am an artist. I've always been in the creative arts. I went through musical theater where I had that as an outlet. But there was something more going on with me, and it was getting stronger and more powerful the older I got. Well, over time, I had come across 2 prophets and 1 prophetess. And they all 3, neither not knowing the other, 3 different points in my life, they all said that I had the gift and that at some point in my life, when the time is right, I will be using my gift to help others. And so three different people saying the same thing at the same time. It really came to a head in the understanding when I came across another brother he identified himself as a psychic. And he right off the bat told me that I had the same ability. And at that time, again, I wasn't really seeing myself as one. I was about in my early 20s at this point. I wasn't really seeing myself as such, but this brother, literally without asking me one question, he described me to a T. He described some things I went through in my childhood that is very heavy. I don't want to get into that right now, but I have spoken about it in some of my online blogs, or written about it in my blog. And he saw all of that. And what he told me is that you have the exact same gift. Again, I've heard this repeatedly throughout my life, but you're not in control of it because you don't love yourself. He picked up I was depressed. I was very unhappy. I was a loner. I was really going through it at that time. And so he told me, when you start working on yourself and start loving yourself unconditionally and let the chips fall where they may, your abilities will come in so strong, you will be able to control it. And I took what he said to heart and I applied it. Life goes on. I began working on myself and improving my net worth, working, creating. Long story short, Spirit had put it upon me that it was time for me to make my presence online more obvious, because prior to this point, I was blogging. I was behind the scenes, behind unanimous accounts, talking about the nature of reality, very controversial type subject matters, taboo subject matters. So it was put on my heart that it's time for me to take it to the next level, show my face and talk about the many astral projection, out-of-body experiences that I've had, the visions and revelations that I've gotten, and show my face and own it. And so in 2018, I set up my Astralboobaby account on YouTube to begin openly discussing these things. So what had happened, I was working for the federal government at that time, and I was so stressed out with work that by the time I got home, I didn't have the time or energy to do anything. Well, long story short, I ended up resigning and leaving the federal government to take on this mission, because I knew the time we're in now, I had foreseen it all, everything, all of it. And to properly prepare people for the Great Awakening, the shift, and this dynamic, unprecedented time in history, there was no way I could have held down a regular 9-to-5, especially the kind of work I was doing, and do this work too, because it takes a lot of energy to do any kind of reading, this kind of work, editing videos. It's a tremendous amount of work. So long story short, a year after I initially set up my account, something happened on the job. Long story short, I ended up losing the job, and I began putting more time and attention and focus on making videos talking about my astral projection experiences, revelations, and what I've gone through and the things that I've experienced in life. And at the time, it was unseen or unheard of. I am the first. And anyone can go back and try to find before 2009, the year that I actually began showing my face, talking about these very taboo subject matters, the nature of reality, so on and so forth, showing my face, owning it in a way that I had done. It was never before seen. So I am the first to ever create a platform solely talking about these subject matters, making predictions and so on and so forth, that you guys can go back and go watch my channel, go all the way back. You will see many predictions and readings that sound crazy and outrageous at the time have since played out, and there are things that I had predicted that's on record or on the blog that I was saying back then that seemed and sound crazy that has since played out. So I made history in doing this. And what happened was, because I was so courageous in doing that, others who were having astral projection experiences and were tapping into the nature of reality or seeing things beyond the veil, they were seeing me and seeing me being comfortable with opening up and talking about these things. It literally opened up a floodgate, and then it was one or two people making videos on these subject matters. Then it became 10. Before you knew it, there were hundreds, and now there are thousands of people out there now making videos talking about astral projecting experiences, taboo subject matters, and things like that. And so I truly understood the mission and the timing and the importance of why I had to do what I had done at that time. And that's how it started. And I've since learned, of course, I'm not going to say any names. There are celebrities. You guys will be surprised to know the number of celebrities who are into these kind of things because they have some abilities. They may not show it or talk about it, but many of them do. And just like I did before I really put myself out there, I was looking for people who were like me, who were tapping into these things. So when you tap into these things or you wake up to these things, your natural inclination would be to try to find others like you. And so I helped lay the foundation and was on the front line of this great awakening online. And so that's it in a nutshell. It's far more complex than that, but that is it in a nutshell.
That is awesome. So you've got a couple from just listening to you, you could identify with a couple titles. And what I mean by titles is, as humans, we like to put things in categories. So, we can identify things. So, you might have people that call themselves psychic mediums, witches, whatever.
Yeah.
What titles would you give yourself?
I'm more comfortable with calling myself a seer, a messenger, visionary, artist, messenger. Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that.
Okay.
Because I often say, and I'm probably one of the first in terms of describing us as so-called humans or whatever you want to call us, having this experience in this reality. I say that we are multidimensional. I was using these terms all the way back then. We are multidimensional. Now that's a common phrase people use now. Mm-hmm. We are multidimensional. We are electromagnetic beings of light having a human experience. These are terms and descriptions that I was given 13 years ago. And again, remember, I've been blogging even before I started blogging, doing videos. So I was behind the scenes. So I've been using these terms for a very, very long time. So when psychic, and I'm cool with people if they want to call me that, but I'm not really cool with that because it has such a negative connotation and a lot of these other terms. So a seer, messenger, visionary, I'm more comfortable with that.
Okay. And I definitely understand that. Have you come from a very religious background by chance?
Ironically, in my family, I do have family members who, just like most African Americans in this country, not necessarily in something that's inherent more than it is more cultural or expected. Growing up with the Christians, people who are Christians, Baptists, Methodists, and then I went to school with people who were very active in the church. But my mother did go through a religious phase, but before her transition, she sort of grew out of that, but she maintained a very strong spiritual foundation. So yes, there was some of that there, but I never resonated with that. My mother would take us to church. I would just go because it's what my mother wanted us to do. And, we didn't have the option of saying no. I would go. But when I would go, I would see things. I would pick up on things. And I just knew there were things that were being taught and said that just wasn't right. Even in my child mind, now that I'm older and wiser and have seen a lot of things and pierced beyond the veil, or whatever, I'm even more certain of it now, which is why I can get on an international platform and openly and proudly speak on these subject matters. And I have not fluctuated. I have not backpedaled. You will go and look at the history that is archived, and you will see I have been consistent all these years. I have not backpedaled on anything. I've remained consistent.
I love it, as you should. So let me ask you this. I know, okay, so I come from a very religious background, very
Hmm.
religious,
Right.
Pentecostal, apostolic on both sides. Um, so my people are very heavy about hell, hellfire, damnation.
Hmm. Hmm.
What is your take on that for people that might have that whole and I do understand. I'm asking this question knowing that everybody is not willing to receive things until they're
Yes.
willing, and sometimes in a whole lifetime they won't receive it.
Right. Right.
But for those who will, what is your take on that?
Well, I'm going to try to explain this as simple as possible. It's like a dual layer type effect. And then when you throw in multi-dimensional functionalities and possibilities and realities, it can get a little more complex and harder to break it down. Okay. There is, in all the years I have had out of body experiences and traveled and seen beyond the veil, there is no non-physical realm where there are people burning forever. I mean, let's just look at the real logic of it all. First of all, how can something burn if you're no longer physical? You're not even, once we leave these physical bodies, we become light. We become conscious beings of light, EC or ether, because we're multidimensional. It means there are layers to us. So when you lose your dense physical body, the laws and physics of your makeup greatly change. So how can something that is no longer dense and physical burn to begin with? That's number one. Then number two, I need the audience to understand the nature of reality. And we talked about this briefly before we started this live. The nature of reality is far more fluid than we think it is, meaning solidity and physicality that in the way we see it is not really fixed. So just like if you close your mind and you visualize yourself being wherever, whatever, and you visualize a person, place, or thing, imagine doing that in a real space with where when you visualize it, it appears just as real and physical in front of you as it would here being in physical reality. That's really what the spirit world is. The spirit world is simply us there in our light form, meaning everything we think, we visualize it, everything is driven by thought. We think it, boom, it's in front of us. Now, is it real? Yes, it's real by thought, but based on how that realness and that what we project, how it manifests in front of us, it's a matter of our will. But at the same time, if we visualize something and imagine it being destroyed, it's only being destroyed because our mind is projecting that perception to experience that, but it's not really being destroyed. So in a roundabout way, what I'm saying is that there is no place, no physical hell that is real where people go and they're burning forever. However, there are realities whereby people will actually experience suffering, pain, emotional pain, because emotions are basically energy in motion. They're electrical signals. We can experience turmoil, conflict, chaos, pain, intense emotional roller coaster ride, so to speak, that will feel like or be comparable to hell. I done a video years ago where I can show you symbolically that we are in hell. This is what the Matrix is about.
Definitely.
Symbolically, the fires are all the diseases, the warring. Look at all the pain and suffering that comes out of that. People with diseases. I've had people who had, that I've known who had cancer. They would tell you when that pain literally feels like their body is on fire or they are being eaten alive. Symbolically, in that sense, they are burning. You know, I have a phrase that says, some of us must burn and learn. You have some people that are really hard-headed, right? And so the only way to make them make them see a better way or make better choices would be for them to get some heat on their behind, meaning go through some pain and suffering, right? Mm-hmm. And the best way to experience that would be in a dense physical body, in a reality like this, where the amnesic barrier, when we forget who we are, truly who we are, And with the body, we're bound by the laws and physics of the cells of a physical body. These cells are like prisons to our electromagnetic light body. So every single cell in these bodies is really vibrating at a certain frequency to trap our light body in so that we can actually feel and experience our reality here in a way that would feel like and would be the equivalent of like burning in hell. But again, not literally, but symbolically and emotionally. And again, when we go through enough pain, conflict, and turmoil in life, and especially if it's of our own doing, even if it's in ignorance, at some point, what happens? We finally catch on and realize, hey, I'm doing this, I'm bringing this on myself. If I want to do better and be better and I don't want to do this anymore, I must do what? I must change my ways. I must reach for high ground. I must work on myself and take a different path. Right. So you see, this is a perfect ground, hell, this version of hell, for us to basically go through these alchemical transformations, to go through these harsh tests, these harsh experiences to transform into a better version of ourselves. This is the best way to do it. In these dense physical bodies that can feel pain, unlike anywhere else, that can literally physically and mentally, psychologically, metaphysically feel heat. So this is where the real hell. And I've been to many of dark places on the astral realm and beyond, and there's some very spooky dark places, and it still is nothing in comparison to actually having a physical body down here in this world, being whoever and whatever, and dealing with the hardships and pains that come along with it. So, and this does not mean that people who do cruelty and do negative things to other people, there are no consequences, because there are. You have laws of the land that man creates, but you have universal laws that are in place. And so the universal law that is in place that none of us can escape, not even the gods, is that what you do to others is ultimately what we do to ourselves. Mm-hmm. So if you are causing pain and suffering and infliction on other people, then eventually that will become a hell for you, but not in that literal biblical sense of the word, but in the same way or a similar way that you gave it to others. So that's basically how I would describe it in a nutshell. So again, nobody really gets away with anything. We all eventually get exactly what we reap. Yeah. We reap what we sow. Exactly what we sow. Right. We reap what we sow. This is why I tell people, be careful of your thoughts. Be careful how you treat people and what you do to people, because no one gets away with anything. So in a biblical sense, is there a hell? No. Are there beings on the other side of the veil who know how to project an entire reality in people's mind and make them believe that this hell place really exists beyond this realm? Yes. Are there realities on earth where there are satanic, demonic creatures and human beings who are literally torturing humans and children? That's a whole nother conversation. Who really get off on torturing people to death here on earth in a physical body? Yes. But in the afterlife, no, there's no reality like that. No. So I have not seen it. And people need to remember that we have had many, many lives. At this point, at the end, this cycle that we're in now, everyone here on this earth has had multiple lives. And I know there are people who are religious. They'll say, no, you only get one life. You know why they believe that? Because the Bible told them that. But if they dig deep enough, they'll realize that reincarnation was in the Bible. But it was taken out to uphold the one life, you go to hell doctrine, so that they can better control the consciousness of the people. And that goes into a whole nother realm of conversation as well, because this whole hell doctrine, this most popular version of hell doctrine, really is a way of frightening people out of tapping into the inner God within themselves, so that they can believe in this version of God that the elite and the oppressors have brought to the people, so that people blindly continue to give their power to them rather than them tapping into and waking up with the God within themselves, so they can connect with the real ultimate creator of all creations.
So it's safe to say that your consciousness creates your reality, and we're living in a hell state.
Exactly.
And these things I already knew, but it's good to just go over those things because people need to know. You
Yeah.
know, it is my belief that, and I recently posted this video. The reason why we're living in so much chaos is
Hmm.
because humanity says they want things. Humans say they want things that they don't really want. And what I mean by that is when they say as within, so without, that's very deep. And
Yes.
we're seeing chaos and we're seeing hatred and we're seeing all of this stuff in control because a lot of us on the inside are chaotic. We're
Yes.
controlling and
That's right.
everything in between.
Hmm.
And I think
Hmm.
when we realize that, when we
Hmm.
do the inner work,
Hmm.
then the outer will reflect the inner work.
That's it.
So
That's it. And yeah, and you hit it right on the nail. And that's something that's really hard for a lot of people to accept. Now, now let's talk about the African American experience. We live this, right?
yes,
And the thing that continues to hurt us the most is the non-accountability and the victimhood consciousness. And
yes,
these fake pro-blacks. Now there's some genuine pro-blacks out there, but see, I see the real, I know the real from the fake. There are a lot of pro-blacks who are out there working for the beast, giving the illusion they care about black people in general, but their job is to keep this victimhood mentality going so that black people continue to do exactly what you're saying right now, but doing it unconsciously and while they're giving their power to their gods and being at the total mercy of their laws and their expectations and so on and their labels and their imagination. So this is why we collectively as a people still seem to not really be moving forward. We are not. And see, the thing about us is that as a people, if we were to get it together, we can transform this planet quicker than any group combined. Why? Because we are the seeds, we are the foundation, we are the original. We carry the melanated woman is the mother of civilization. She carries the Eve gene. This is true, and I've been saying this for years. This is common knowledge now. This is meaning every group on this planet come by way of the melanated woman, and the melanated woman is the first. It wasn't men first. That's a lie. Women were first. Women are the very closest to a complete being. A complete being, a whole complete being is more androgynous. The melanated woman is the closest to that, but even she has been genetically modified to a point where she's unable to truly tap into her power in the way that I'm telling you, if she could, the world would radically change. So again, it comes back down to, again, the foundation. It's the foundation, the initial stewards, the mothers and fathers of civilization get their mess together and really understood this. It doesn't even have to be every single one of us. If at least 85% of us get to that point, the world would change overnight and we would
overnight.
take control of this game again. This is why we're the most targeted
Yes.
of these forces. And now here's the thing. Again, sin beyond the veil, they want us to think that this is the white man. The white man is just basically one of the henchmen. I'm not saying every white man. I'm just saying I'm speaking in general,
Right.
like symbolically. This quote unquote so-called white man. There are other groups involved in this, including, and who's at the top of this? Other melanated people.
Right.
But see, we don't understand, just like you got different classes and groups and tribes of melanated people, you have different tribes and classes of gods. So to speak, there are many gods. So you have a disagreeable group of melanated people who is literally who are some of who are the wealthiest people on the planet. They're hidden. You will never see them. And they're running things. The Pope, the Vatican, the Queen and King of this planet worship them. It's some deep stuff. I don't want to go too deep on this, but again, and the people say, well, why would they want to do that to their own people? They don't see us all. They don't see us as one of them. These people are not operating and thinking the way we think. They're looking at it in terms of bloodline and class and rank. So when you have agreeable melanated people, you have disagreeable. So the first angel, the first devil, the first demon, whatever you want to call it, they were all melanated people.
And I just feel like at this point, and this is just me, I'm not saying this should be Bible or anything, but I just feel like at this point we should be past the why. I was just really
Yeah.
looking at, like, TikTok has become one of my favorite platforms. There's so many people on there getting extra deep. And sometimes I almost feel like some people just get too deep to their detriment. Like, you trying to find so much information, and then you got to really ask yourself, and then what? What is really the point? Because now that you know or think that you know, everybody's down here with a magnifying glass. Everyone's then revved up their mystery machine. You know what I'm saying? Their Inspector Gadgets. But we're not doing shit with the information. So it just becomes, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
With that
and
being...
here's
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. With that being said, it's like, do you ever really see... Number one, do you see peace coming soon? Number two, do you... Because a lot of people are saying, you get ready, it's about to get rocky, some scary stuff up ahead, this, that, and the third. Do you think it's a lot of people are locked into fear mongering?
Yeah. Yes. And again, they were put there. Now, we know that censorship is very real.
Yeah.
You and I, we talked about this before we went live. I've been experiencing shadow banning, the censorship ever since around 2010. It went to a whole nother level when Google took over YouTube. Now, you have to understand that if they are allowing people to reach millions of people and they're pushing fear mongering, it's because that's what they want. They decide who gets seen because they're still in control. So if they're allowing people out there pushing all this fear mongering, it's serving their agenda. Why? Because as long as they're producing and promoting fear, and that's adding to the chaos and confusion, and it's also aiding in countering the elevation and vibration of the frequency of the planet. So they love, when I say they, I'm talking about the oppressive forces that don't want us remembering who we are, don't want us uniting, don't want us really doing anything. They use fear, they use racism, now they're using with the whole sexuality, the GLBT, anything of a political, divisive, a social construct. They're using these are the devices they're using to lure people into their emotions, to basically get people fearful, depressed, afraid. Because what happens when we're in a state of fear?
That's a frequency.
It lowers our frequency, it lowers our vibration, and we begin to indirectly and unconsciously co-sign to a dark and negative outcome.
Yeah.
So they know, because they know how our consciousness works. Our consciousness, our thoughts are alive. Our consciousness shapes our reality. We said that. So fear, to keep the consciousness from elevating, to keep the planet from raising and vibration, to keep the people from rising in awareness, they have to keep them in constant fight or flight mode. On a treadmill, going to work, working a stressful 9-to-5 job, keeping people sick, keeping people fighting, keeping people divided, keeping people thinking that somebody's out to get them, to kill them, and all that. So this is why content like that do so well. They want to keep people's attention on violence. They let videos of people getting murdered, beat up. They let that flourish, but they go saying to people like you and I, just talking about the nature of reality. So you clearly see where the power really is. So they target, again, melanated people because of our makeup. Every group has their unique makeup and their strength, but because, again, we represent and we carry the foundation. We are the root, and the melanin in the skin gives us electromagnetic capabilities and access that is not necessarily there for those who may not have as much of it, because melanin is a superconductor. And when you have that interacting with consciousness, this is why they want us the most. They come after us, and they're constantly targeting us. And racism, that game of racism, this is why they're going to constantly keep something going where this black and white thing going where some cops, a lot of this stuff is staged. It's not even real. Some of it is real because it's a part of a ritual. And a lot of it is staged because they want to keep black people and keep us angry and in our emotions and sad so we can keep doing drugs, smoking weed, drinking, having sex, like doing all these counterproductive things. Like you said, not really doing nothing to really change nothing.
Yes.
That's the whole game.
Speaking so many facts. I mean, and even like the whole, and this is not the same, but it's relevant to the conversation. The whole Will Smith and Chris Rock thing. People fell for that line and sinking. I didn't understand that because if it was real, they would have had police out there. They would have cut the stage. They would. You wouldn't have seen it. The fact that you saw it. They wanted that to happen. And that's how far they're willing to go now that they're allowing this, because that wasn't a thing.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah, it's all distraction, and then they throw in rituals in between, you know. But the beauty about it is that more people are starting to see it, and when you see it for what it is, and I'm talking about people who see it and just not playing into it and know how to do things to counter that. Like literally see it for what it is and blow it off. It has no power on you. It has, and you're not feeding into it and giving it power so that they can usurp that power and continue using magnetics and all these spells and all this ritual work they use to reinforce the suppression of consciousness, because this is what the spiritual warfare is really about at this point. It's not going there. Will not be no nuclear war. That's another thing they want to. I'm actually going to do a video about it. I did multiple readings on this. There will not be any nuclear war. The war is real, but it is a war for consciousness. And when you get the consciousness, you by default get the soul with it. This is what it's really about.
Real quick, I want to bring this up. I don't know. Are you familiar with Kevin Samuels?
I know of him, but I don't get into. I don't really watch people like that. No, I know of him. And I know what his platform was about and all that. But I didn't watch him. I don't support content like that.
Okay, so that's a good answer, regardless of what I'm asked the next. So, is it your perspective, belief, understanding that he was a free agent, really just doing this thing on his own? Do you believe he was planted and working for the other side? Okay.
He was planted. Most definitely. As a matter of fact, one of my female relatives brought him to my attention. They asked me, and that's what I saw right away. He took the deal. He made a deal. And see, this is the thing. And I know about the deals very much so because they came and offered me. I've been approached and offered deals multiple times here on this plane and on the astral plane. So I know how they roll. They go after people who are very charismatic, very charming, people who have talent, who are gifted, who have some kind of ability, and they use them to push a particular role or agenda. So that you have this, he played into the gender war, but more importantly, to again get in the hands of the sisters and to make the sisters feel devalued and worthless. Again, that's the target group. And so what they do, they offer fame, money, clout, success, all of that. And see, I'm one of those people, and trust me, take my word when I say this, I genuinely am not impressed with that stuff. I'm not impressed with money. I don't care if you're a celebrity. I don't care how much money you got in the bank, how big your house is, who you are, what you are. And trust me, I know celebrities. I've known celebrities. I'm not impressed with that stuff. I'm not clout. I don't care.
That's right.
I genuinely don't care. I don't care how big your mansion is and all that. And so I don't care about sex. You can't get me with sex, all that mess, material gains, none of that. I genuinely am not impressed with none of it. So there are people who are impressed with that. So if you have an Achilles heel, they'll study you and they'll come and they'll offer. This is how they get most people. They'll say, well, we'll make sure you get a 7-figure salary. You will be famous. You will be in with the in crowd. You will have status, prestige, and all that. And especially from our community, people who come up from very humble beginnings or come from next to nothing, that's very attractive to many people. There are not very many people who could turn that down, but I did. I come from the hood. I still roam in the hood, and because I see what that is all about, and because I'm genuinely unimpressed by that, when they came off of me, it didn't do nothing for me.
Okay.
I really am genuinely more impressed with people's personality, what kind of heart, what kind of character, your level of compassion, your calibration level, what good are you doing, how loving and supportive are you towards your fellow man, how do you treat your mother, how do you treat your father, your children. That's really where I'm at.
Yeah.
All that other BS, it kick rocks with no socks.
Yeah, because
I'm
it's
unimpressed.
unimportant. I mean, it is. Yeah, it's just an earthly thing anyway. Now, I will say this. I truly do believe, because I have done videos, even recently this year, in favor of Kevin Samuels in this regard. I think when he first started, I really do. He said a lot of things that were true in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I think that, and I think that his intention was to really bring the Black family together. Now he did start doing the hand symbolisms and stuff like that. And I think, like anybody, he got caught up, and that's when he really started getting outrageous and kind of talking out the side of his neck, becoming a shock jock. But what I really found was strange is something about the way he passed just did not sit right with me. I mean, it's like he came in quick and left. And it's a lot of these people taking deals and they stay around. So I couldn't understand why he burned out so quickly.
Yeah. Well, I would have to do a reading, and the thing about me, I don't do readings. I abide by the rules.
Right.
I don't do readings on people without their consent.
Right. I understand.
I don't do that. Some people seers do that. I don't do that. I follow by a different code.
You doing right though.
But I will say, thank you. But I will say that again, when they see you are gifted and you mean well, once you make that deal, you become, you have to listen to what they say. And here's what usually happens, right? When they find themselves no longer having their own voice and having to do things they really don't want to do, and they have a consciousness and they have a heart, and they're feeling and seeing the consequences of their actions. Some of them will get to a point where they start to rebel and really don't want to do it anymore. So once you get out of hand, you no longer doing what they don't want you. If you're no longer not willing to do what they want you to do, again, this is a contract. You made a deal. You told them you would be cool with it. Once you start rebelling and not doing what they want you to do, that's when you see stuff like that happen.
Okay.
They take them out. Sometimes it's a fake steak takeout. Sometimes it's real. And I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Yep. And I'm in agreement. I will say that the whole thing just seemed very suspicious, even the details. And I was just like, okay, peep game.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Moving forward. So what do you think about, and we're going to just so the audience knows, I'm doing this. I'm trying to keep this deep and surface. We don't want to get too heavy because we're going to do other interviews. So I'm trying to cover some topics that I know that people are really buzzing about. A lot of people could not stand Donald Trump. For Donald Trump doesn't bother me. I don't get. Matter of fact, to be honest, and I know some people are going to hate me for this, but I'd rather have Donald Trump than who we have now any day.
Right.
But, the problem with our people, again, we are very, to the core of us, I believe that we are good people. to the core of us. We're very emotional, and with the right mixture of propaganda and any little thing that's proof that looks like, we get all caught off into that, and then this other side plays to our emotions, and then we're jacked.
Yeah.
What do you feel going forward? What is your feelings about President Trump and President Biden as safely as you can articulate that? How do you feel about that?
Okay. You guys go to my channel and look at my archive. I have over 300 videos, but I have spoken about the last election.
Oh, I'm going to have to watch it.
I touched on it, and again, I had to censor it a lot because there was a lot going on with that. And again, I have to make the people aware that, again, I can't really talk about someone without their consent. But what I can say is that what is presented in the mainstream media, people of color especially, should not be taken at face value. Because, and Malcolm X said it in his own way, but I also stated many times that they have the ability to make your enemy appear to be your friend, and your friend appear to be your enemy. Now, we as a people should know this, because the world has a very negative perception about us as a people as a whole, because of that same media that they take at face value. So again, just as you touched on before, they play on our emotions a lot. All they got to do is just say somebody said something racist with no evidence, no proof, or take a soundbite and twist it and say this person said something racist. And because that's a very, very sensitive area for us, a lot of us will just lead without blind emotions and will just eat it up and fall for it. So with him, a lot of that the media has done with people of color. You know, the Democrats have always been using race as a leverage to keep the black vote and to manipulate the black vote. They've always done it. And this has come from someone who's nonpartisan. I'm not even into politics. Never had been. So I can look at both sides and read it without any biases.
Right.
But I will say that my grandfather used to always say, and my grandfather grew up during Jim Crow and some of the worst times for black people. And he always said Democrats really are black people's worst nightmare, pretend to be our friend. And now that I'm old and wise and I have this ability, I can clearly see that. That's not to say that the other side don't have racists and what have you, but I do see in the bigger picture overall, for us to really get some real changes in this country, we gotta be a little more flexible in terms of looking at, okay, maybe the Democrats really ain't got our best interests at heart. It's time to start letting that whole pie in the sky idea go. And they appeal to a lot of us because they are really good at appearing like they really care about us. And we buy it, or they give us a lot of quote unquote free things or whatever. But there's you never really get nothing for free.
No.
So let me come back to what's going on right now without giving an outright read on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is here to fulfill a prophecy. Just like when that last election, there was a lot with that. And I'm telling you, this is the most organized this is the most organized shape of a narrative I have ever seen in my life. Meaning there are all kind of powerful people in on this mass deception. And for those who are Christians, it's even in the Bible. It says, even during the last days, the duly elect will be deceived. Now, you got to ask yourself, what do they mean by that? We are in the last days. The last days meaning the world as we know it is leaving. It is changing. We see how much the world has changed in just the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Yep.
Next 2, 3 years is going to be radically different from this. So if the Bible had forecast that the majority of the people will be deceived during this time, you got to ask yourself, given that these two players, Biden and Trump, are at the forefront of this time period, you got to ask yourself, who's really being deceived now at this point? And if we were to take our emotions out of the way and look at the facts, we would clearly see who's doing the most deception. But people, as long as you got your emotions in the way, and as long as you are clinging to the old paradigm and the old way of thinking, you're not going to see it. So he's here. Trump is essentially here to turn the underbelly of the beast over and reveal all the maggots, all the filth, all the degeneracy, all the wickedness, all the ugliness, all the things we did not want to see. And what I said again, you guys will look at my videos and you will see that I predicted a lot of stuff you see playing out right now. I even predicted in 2020 that they will mandate that jab, right? Trump didn't mandate that. Mind you, this administration swore up and down they would never mandate it. But that was to get votes, right? They forget about all that. That was to get votes. And if you were to ask the average person of color, what has this administration done for the average American citizen, let alone melanated people? You did not one of them can tell you. However, if you go back and you look at what Trump had done when he was in there. Now, they hide a lot of this stuff from the people. Look at what Trump has done for melanated people and America as a whole. See, people are so busy, distracted by all of that mess about mean tweets, and they're saying he said this when he didn't say that, and they twisting sound bites. They didn't see the good that the man had actually done, even with all those attacks.
And made Kanye West look crazy in the process of defending
him. And made him look crazy. Exactly. So again, all of this is theater. It's all optics, but it's also all a part of prophecy to finally take down what they call Babylon. Babylon is falling, and Trump plays a major role in that. But again, the optics is there to make the people believe that, again, their enemy, their foe is the enemy, or their friend is the enemy, and the enemy is the friend. You see? Yeah. Again, look at the deeds, look at the fruits of their labor. And they throw that term around that Trump was, and I remember this, I was real young, but I remember this, that Trump is racist. Now, you know, there may be some truth to that, because how can you not be a person, a Caucasian, be born into a world where people who look like you ruling everything? It's almost like indirectly, subconsciously, and subliminally embedded in, right, whether they know it or not. It's not necessarily mean that they white people are inherently evil. I'm not one of those people who believe that all white people are inherently evil. It's a program.
Yeah, they program too. They have program bias. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. It's a program. So, but when you look at little white, you put black kids and black children together, and you leave them alone. Don't put all that mess in. You see, they play together. They don't see. I remember when I was a kid, when we were really, really young like that, we played together. We saw there were some differences, but we didn't have no concept. Oh, that's a white person, I shouldn't play. There was nothing in me that kicked in and said I shouldn't play with her, or the white kid, there's nothing, I shouldn't be playing with that person because they skin not like mine. We are taught that mess. It's all a social contract. A social construct. It's all programming. So when you remove the programming, take the media programming and the spells out the way, and look at what was produced, look at the fruits, look at them both, and you will get a better view as to what's really going on. Unfortunately, a lot of people are making decisions and formulating opinions and perceptions based off of emotions and media sound bites and spin doctors.
It's so
this
true,
is what is really hot now, because like I said in the video in 2020, I said a series of events must play out, because it's one thing to try to tell the people the truth, but when they see the truth unfold before their eyes, they have no other choice but to accept it. Now, there's still going to always be people who will still hold on to cognitive dissonance or whatever, because they can't deal in reality. Right. But you see more and more people starting to see the facade and the BS and the fraud. And again, Trump and some others who are on the worldwide stage, they are catalysts, and they are playing a major role in revealing. This is the great revealing. A lot of things are being exposed now through and because of people like that. So whether people like it or not, he is destined. He is going to get back in power. I don't care what it looks like. He is, because that's his destiny.
And I believe
and it was supposed to have been the set last time.
They stole
if
it,
you
though.
read between the lines, they stole it, and they absolutely did. But you see how organized everything they accused him of, they are doing, they have done, and are actually doing. Everybody forget they talking about some insurrection that wasn't even no real daggone insurrection, but they forget when all those riots that was going on with the what's that guy George Floyd, all that, again, the emotions, they purposely did that ritual killing before the world. They wanted that. Democrats are behind that. They're the ones behind that. And all the violence, all burning down government buildings, people got killed during that time. Why wasn't that seen as just as bad, if not worse? Because many lives were lost during that time period when Democrats, and they were on TV egging, damn right, go burn it down. I remember seeing a video with Maxine Ward, go burn it down. And let them know we not taking it no more. But none of them got in trouble. None of them got caught out on it.
It's a joke.
It's ridiculous, and people just blindly accept the media sound bites. But the beauty again is that more and more people are seeing it now. They have no other choice but to see the truth now.
Yeah, I mean it's like a theater. It's like this is a Shakespeare world, and there's truth and there's lies. You know, you got to have both. But you know, I think the only reason why that officer, even if that's even the real officer that they supposedly locked up, even if that really happened, but I think the only reason that they gave him this sentence, if it's really real, or they just put it in front of us, is because they knew that people was upset about that. You know, we seen this. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And they did the ultimate of what that was supposed to do. They purposely planned all of that.
Yeah.
It was all about design.
I wouldn't be surprised if they were siphoning our energy.
You got to rile people in their emotions. They got to get black people upset. They got to get people in their emotions. Upset, angry, blind rage. Yeah. Man, lower the consciousness of the planet in the process. You know, and then they play bad cop, but they're the ones behind the scenes creating this, and then they come and try to pretend to be the saviors. They create the problem and then offer the solution. This is why another reason why Democrats are so appealing to so many of our people after all these years. And you see they really haven't done anything.
Not a thing.
Trump, you look at what Trump has done more for the American people and melanated people than any president in history. And the reason why they don't like him, the system, they don't like him, is because he's his own man. He is an outside. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. And they don't like him because he's not playing by their own rules. He can't be bought. He got his own power. He got his own money.
But what I feel strange about that is, I'm sorry for cutting you off.
Go ahead.
What I think is strange about that, and it's got to be, like you said, a prophecy thing, because they could have JFK, Martin Luther King. Yeah. You get my drift? They could have done that. Yeah. They did.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly. Yeah. It is, and that's why I say he was. This stuff goes beyond even before. This stuff is planned before he's even born. All of our lives, all of this stuff starts before we are even born in this world, because we make contracts and agreements before we even come into a physical existence. True. So this that's why I say this is prophecy. So it was already predestined for him to become independently wealthy, have a high IQ, be such a true businessman, to be in a position where he cannot be bought. He cannot, and have so much money and power that he can buy the best protection to shield himself, and to be so charismatic but ruthless. You have to be ruthless. Like, people come on mean tweets or whatever, but as a seer, I see how this man was constantly, him and his family constantly attacked. This man is working with high-level gangsters, Luciferians, Satanists, killers, high level. You have to be ruthless dealing with that level of power. I mean, you're talking about he's going head to head with some of the most organized criminals in history. Yeah. Some of the most powerful, organized criminals and beings who are into black magic and all this kind of stuff. They got off-world helpers and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. He has to be ruthless. He has to be tough.
That's true. That is so true. We are running out of time. I know you said you had to get out of here by 11. Next, I wanted to get into how I discovered you with the whole thing with the Jaguar Wright talking about Aaliyah, and then I wanted to cover something about clones, if we can even talk about that. But I guess we can save that for interview 2. I wrote it down here, so and we can schedule that off the line. But before we get out of here, you are a musician, and I did want to play your song so the audience can hear it. Okay, and
thank you.
When we'll play a little snippet of that, and then after that, we can go ahead and get out of here. I need you guys to share this video, subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe to his channel too, because I'm going to be binge watching. I'm telling you, I'm starting binge watching tomorrow. So we can binge watch together, you know?
Yes. And the thing about my channel, make sure you check the link, because they'll go in there, break the link. If you don't spell my name exactly right, it would not be recommended to you. You will not find me, because my channel is definitely being shadow banned and it's not being recommended. So we definitely want to make sure they have my name and the link. And the song, the name of the song that you were playing is called Keep It Growing and Flowing. That's a catchphrase of mine. Listen to the lyrics, take it to heart. All of the songs that I write about are inspirational. They're designed to empower, uplift the listener, and raise the consciousness and elevate the vibration of the listener if they give it a chance. This is what music for me is all about, inspiring and uplifting the listener.
And I'm going to put your link in the description of the podcast, so they can't mess it up. I always put the links, so you don't have to worry about that. All right, thank you. Check out this masterpiece by Astralboobaby.
You got.
Just for being you. And how many times have you been shown a lie that you saw through? Ever wonder how you always fly so very high and free, in spite of an enemy? Always landing on your feet is failure. Tried so hard to win, but you refuse to give in. You keep it growing and flowing, 'cause when you leave it, that is your knowing. You know. Of recompense can be found in true self-reflection. But how can one achieve if there's no effort to heal a soul's imperfections? Let integrity spark a jubilee, personified times two. Like the light we grew. Let nobody redesign the unique design in you. Be true and change, growing and growing. for you need to ride forever. The proof is yours. Keep it. Won't you keep it flowing and flowing? That is your words for you.
Whole thing play for y'all. The whole thing. Do you have any sites that you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Do I have any, what's that again?
Any sites that you want to shout out? Like I said, I'm going to put your YouTube in there, but you know.
Okay. Well, right now, yeah, I do. I actually have a blog where I have some of my videos that I've done over the years and vlogs talking about certain subjects. That will be astralboobaby.net. That's spelled astralboobaby.net. And I also have a artist page. That's still under construction, but at some point I will link that to my Astralboobaby website as well, so you'll find me through there.
Well, I thank you once again for coming on, and
thank you for having me.
We're definitely going to have to schedule another one because this was awesome. We ran out of time.
Thank you.
If it hadn't been for the technical difficulties, we probably could have got into some stuff. But everything happens like it should, so I don't need to worry about it.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
All right, y'all. Thank you for listening. Again, like, share, and subscribe, and comment. Go ahead. What were you saying, something?
No, I was going to say thank you so much for having me on the show. There's so much more to come for sure.
I love it. All right. And we are out of here.